What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So, according to Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, there was a massive security breach that occurred when he, a civilian, a member of the media, but still a civilian, was included in a group chat that included the likes of Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Trump advisor Stephen Miller, and White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, in which they discussed sensitive information in regards to airstrikes on Houthi rebels in Yemen. As a matter of fact, Jeffrey Goldberg, who proved that he was part of this group chat by showing screenshots of the less sensitive information that was discussed, held back on reporting some of the things that were said, in particular from Pete Hegseth, because he said that had he revealed everything that was communicated, it would have been a threat to national security, because it would have possibly allowed the enemies to know certain sensitive information that would be counterproductive to what the American government's trying to do over there. So he didn't show everything, not showing their hand, so to speak. You know what I mean? He said at first that he didn't think this was real. He didn't think this was real. He thought this might have been like misdirection or whatever the case may be. So what he did was, when the group chat ended, he waited in his car, and he said that according to this group chat, the first bombs were dropped at 1:55 p.m. that day. So he waited until 1:55, and he went on X, and sure enough, at that very time, there were reports of explosions in Yemen. So this guy was a civilian, a journalist, was part of a very sensitive discussion by high-ranking government officials involving bombing of rebels. To all these people who were so up in arms about when Hillary Clinton was sending her emails to her personal BlackBerry, and everybody talked about how that was such a security breach and that was so irresponsible and unbecoming of a Secretary of State, and how could you do this, blah, blah, blah. I want y'all to keep that same energy here. Don't try to, mental gymnastic your way into some fantastical excuse for this bullshit, because that's what it is. Trump today, or it might have been yesterday actually, said that this was just a glitch. Just a glitch. It's just a glitch. I have the best people, the finest people. Everybody knows it. Everybody talks about it. The best people. Vance, J.D. Vance, a phenomenal, great socks, great beard, beautiful bushy beard. Makes you kind of wonder too, just how in tune Trump is with everything. Like, who is exactly running the government? Is Trump really fully in control? Because I'm gonna tell you something. I said this in my video about J.D. Vance, when Trump and Vance and Marco Rubio had their face-off with Vladimir Zelensky, right? I said it's usually against protocol for a vice president to talk to a head of state like that, because the head of state outranks the vice president. But, maybe J.D. Vance behind the scenes got that Dick Cheney pull and we don't know about it. Like maybe, Dick Cheney was kind of more put out there that Dick Cheney had more of a role, especially when it comes to foreign policy. Dick Cheney literally was running foreign policy, especially during the first Bush term, which is uncharacteristic of what the vice presidency has always been about. John Adams once called the vice presidency the most, I forget the exact quote, but something akin to the most insignificant office ever created. Because really it was purely ceremonial back then. The only power that the vice president really could have is if the president died. And then even then, when it actually happened for the first time, when William Henry Harrison died in just a month into his term, people still didn't know whether the vice president was really the president. Was he just acting president, ceremonial president? But the vice presidency has grown into a much more powerful office. I would say starting with Nixon, he used the office not only to campaign for other Republican officials, of course, scoring points for himself, but he used the time as vice president to gain more foreign policy credentials and representing the government in different forms overseas. And there was 2 different stints where he basically became the de facto president 2 or 3 times, when Eisenhower had his heart attack, when he had the stroke, and when he had the attack of ileitis. But anyway, the vice presidency has grown in power since then. But anyway, I kind of droned on and on about that. But yeah, man, look, how did this happen? How did this happen? Like I said, you had Trump have classified information that he was showing people when he was an ex-president that he had no business showing to people. It's just that I just know this. If this was Joe Biden that this had happened under, Trump supporters would be absolutely livid and calling for his impeachment and resignation if this hadn't happened. Further evidence of his incompetence, further evidence that he's not running the show, which he really wasn't, by the way, et cetera, et cetera. I'm floored by this. But, then again, Pete Hegseth, should he even really be in that position? People always want to talk about DEI hires. What, this guy, a Fox News host? What the fuck made him qualified to be defense secretary? What? Because he went to college? I went to college. Maybe I should be, the next Secretary of State or something when Marco Rubio, inevitably leaves because, he just can't deal with this stupidity anymore. But I'm just saying, man, like, what the fuck is going on, man? Man, sheer stupidity. Anyway, that's all I got to say about it. What you guys think?